Ladies and gentlemen, Connor here from CW's Tech Reviews, back with another video, and today we're doing my 1 year review on the Fujifilm X-T4. So without further ado, hit the like button and the subscribe button and let's get stuck into the video. Let's go. So the X-T4 came out about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer than a year ago, and it was a real hit. But I don't think it got the coverage and the recognition it deserved then. And then it slowly got some traction. So a lot of people were like, hey, the X-T4 is pretty good, maybe you should get one. And you can watch some YouTubers these days, and a lot of them have their X-T4 set up for video, whether it's doing outdoor vlogging or even indoor studio setups like this one. They're using the X-T4. Now I don't want to go through all the specs because there's a million of them, but I do want to cover some of the specs that I think set it aside from some of its competitors. Now this is a mirrorless camera, APS-C. I recently did a comparison between this and the Canon 90D. Links down below if you want to check that out. Roughly the same size sensor as the Canon 90D. It's a little bit bigger, which gives you a little bit more depth of field, a little bit more bokeh. A little bit more light's going to get in as well to give you a little bit better low light photography. But I'm getting distracted. Some of the video specs that just blow me away. Number one is IBIS. Number two is F-Log, which is similar, like if you're in the Canon world it'd be C-Log, but this is Fuji, so it's F-Log, and I think that's great. It's really good to have at this price point. 10-bit 422 for your color grading as well, so lots of options there for your video. Also comes with 4K 50 frames per second or 60 if you're in the US. 240 slow-mo, so 240 frames per second slow motion as well. It's got some good video features. I still can't figure out why they have all these amazing video features and no headphone jack, but they include a dongle that you're probably going to lose. X-T5 headphone jack, it's got to have one. It's got to have one, you just got to go there. And the first area I always cover, no matter what I review, is the build and design. And I think the X-T4 looks amazing. I mean, you just look at all those dials on there, all those buttons. It's got a certain character about it, like all the Fuji cameras do. They definitely stand out on their own, and they're unmistakable. You look at a camera, you go, that's a Fuji. You just know straight away. And the X-T4 has that. This is the all black one. It also comes in silver, and I think they both look as good as each other. Now, one of the things it doesn't have is a display on the top. So if you're doing your photography or your videography and you're looking down at the top of your camera, you've got no display to see, to tell you where your settings are. But the dials are that big, you can see most of your settings there anyway. And if you're doing video, you're gonna have most of that locked in anyway. But for photography, you don't have that top up display. However, you do have the flippy screen. So that flippy screen is awesome. And when I was doing my Canon versus Fuji comparison, I always thought that the pictures on the Fuji were better because I was looking at a display that is much better. And I was being tricked by such a good display. And it also has that electronic viewfinder as well that gives you a real image, a real view of your image you're about to take. So if you're overexposed, you can tell. Underexposed, you can tell. Now it is made of alloy and plastic. Get into the fancy names of the plastic and the alloy, but that's what it's made of at the end of the day. Comes with weather sealing, so you can take it out in light rain. I wouldn't recommend heavy rain. Definitely don't put it underwater. But if you're out and you're caught in some rain, you're doing some photography, you can get it a little bit wet. It's water and dust resistant. One of the areas I would like to whinge about is the grip. You can see there's not much of a grip to hang on to, and when I'm used to using Canon, you really do have a good grip on the camera, especially the 90D. It's a nice solid grip on it, really easy to hold, really comfortable to hold, and that's lacking here with the X-T4. Doesn't really matter if you're doing photography, I guess, or if you're on a tripod, but if I'm doing handheld video work, which this camera is really good for, then I'm going to want a good solid grip, and I don't really have that here. It is a bit on the slimmer profile, but that's what you get when you go mirrorless, which I don't think is always a good thing. Software and navigation. Now, look, the software isn't that good, and that's because it's really fiddly, and there is so many different options with this camera that they have to include a lot of options in the menu. And it is a bit of a challenge to go through everything and to learn everything. I found I was always getting stuck, thinking, oh, where's this again? What's going on here? And fumbling my way through the menu system. So if you are picking one up for the first time, or you're swapping from Canon or Sony across to Fuji, you're definitely going to want to have your manual, your camera user guide in your back pocket for a little while anyway, because it is quite confusing, and I've found it at times to be a little bit frustrating. None of that matters once you learn it. It's going to be great for you once you learn the system, but learning it takes a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, and it's really something I had to study. But once you got it, you got it. One thing I did like though was when I was shooting video, I could just access my video settings on here. It was really easy. I think that was really intuitive, and I'd like to see that implemented in some other brands. And it was well done here with the Fuji X-T4. Photo time. I was using this for some photography, definitely video work, and definitely I've got kids, so constantly taking photos of the kids, and I was really pleasantly surprised. The image quality on the X-T4 definitely competes with its peers on the same level, and I would say is better than most of the cameras at this price point in the APS-C range. Really, really impressive. I was using the 27mm prime lens from Fuji and the 8 to 16mm to f2.8 wide angle lens, and I was getting crisp, clear images every time. I was really impressed with the quality of the pictures, and it goes to show that, you know, I'm not the best photographer in the world, far from it, but these lenses and this camera certainly helped me get me some of the way. I mean, it really was nice to be able to use this. Now, the images were nice and sharp and offered a good balanced level of saturation when in standard profile mode, and I believe I got a little bit more bokeh from my images due to that slightly larger sensor. Yes, I think it made a difference. And my favourite time to be using the X-T4 was doing street photography. I live in Brisbane in sunny Australia, and I was heading out to the botanical gardens and some other areas and getting some really nice photos, and I really enjoyed using it. And it was easy to carry around, one little over-the-shoulder camera bag, 2 lenses, and I was out having a great time doing my street photography. And the images were delightful. They really were really sharp, really good saturation. I was getting the raw images as well as the JPEG, and I'd have to say that the low light was doing quite well as well. And I could go in Lightroom and adjust the photos where I'd missed the mark out in the field. And I really did enjoy using the camera. But not only did I enjoy using it, but I was really satisfied with the technical results of the photos. Now, noise does creep in low light, as it does with all cameras in this price point. This is not a Canon R5 or a 1DX Mark III or a Fuji GFX 100S. This is a Fuji X-T4. So it's that $2,000 price range, and yes, you're going to have some noise in low light. But I was quite impressed with it, and I think it was better than I expected it to be. And I think even today, like 1 year after its release, it's still a really solid camera for low light and also for video in low light. You get some good quality images. It performs to where it should for the price point. Now, I could be out mucking around, street photography, having a bit of fun, getting some nice creative shots. I could share it straight from my camera to my phone and upload it to social media straight away. It really was enjoyable for that, and I could just go about my day, have some fun and tell my story as I go. Really convenient and a definite must-have for any camera in 2021. Now, I've talked about it at the start. We're going to talk about video. But the X-T4 is winning here. It is ahead of the game for this price point, and there's a couple of areas where I was a bit disappointed, but for the most part, the video is killing it. And if I could just take the video capabilities out of this and put it into my Canon camera, I'd be stoked. And I think companies like Canon definitely need to step it up. They shouldn't just be reserving their specs that they give in the R6 and the R5 for $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 cameras, it should be in the $2,000 price point as well, because that's where we're at here with the X-T4. So we can shoot in 1080p right up to 240 frames per second if you really do need that slow-mo. Once you get to 240, you start to lose a bit of image quality, but around that 120 or even 1080p 60, really nice image, really nice video, and the IBIS helps a ton in getting nice stable footage. And then the 4K up to 50 frames per second or 60 if you live in America. Really nice, really sharp, really good image quality. I was really impressed with it, especially on these lenses that I was sent by Fuji as well. I'd have to say, really impressive. But I actually felt excited using this. I could see the image quality as I was recording it. I was like, I can't wait to get home and play with this in Premiere Pro and edit it and have some fun with it. And as you can see from the results, the images are really, really sharp, really clear. The colors aren't like some other brands. Like the colors aren't Sony colors and they're not Canon colors. There you go, I said it. But you can change that. You can change that in your Premiere Pro or whatever it is you're using for your color grading and your editing. You can adapt the colors to suit. But for straight up video shooting, it's really enjoyable. IBIS, 4K 60. I mean, those two things alone for me are amazing. Also offering that 10-bit 422 as well. I mean, there's options, options, and options when it comes to video. It's a killer camera for the price, and I think 2021 is going to be a pretty boring year. So I can see the X-T4 holding up into 2022 and possibly even 2023. So I think if you've got one, hang on to it because it's amazing and it's just going to be a workhorse and it's going to last you for another 3-4 years easy before you're going to start to feel like you're falling behind. And if you're considering getting one, I would recommend it easily. Like if someone said to me, I'm thinking about getting a Fuji X-T4, I wouldn't hesitate. I would say, just go and get one. If you've got the cash and you want to get a couple of lenses as well, just go and get one. You know, I wouldn't say to them, oh, have you thought about the Canon? Or hey, have you thought about the Sony? If they were already considering the Fuji, my advice would be pick one up. I wouldn't be able to sit here and say, no, don't get that. Don't get that. I mean, the downfalls are the software, headphone jack. I think I forgot to mention dual SD card slots. Really good, really good. And USB-C charging on the go as well. So I was out on the go, doing photography, videography, that sort of thing. And I was like, oh crap, I'm running out of battery and I only have one battery. But no fear, had my handy little portable battery here from Belkin, plugged it in as I'm shooting, as I'm taking photos, battery in, charging on the go. And that's great as well. I mean, the battery life could be a little bit better, but because you can charge on the go, you can forgive it. So that's me. That's the X-T4. Yes, I recommend it. I think it holds up in 2021 and beyond. And I think if you're considering one, go get one. Use my links down below if you really want to help me out. I mean, gee, if you picked up one of these through my links, I could retire. That's how much money I'd make off it. I could retire if you picked up one of these off my link. Not quite. Retire for a minute or a day. No, a minute. Questions down below about the X-T4 or the Canon or whatever you want to ask me, hit me up in the comments down below. I really appreciate you all watching this video. Thank you, and I will catch you in the next video. Check ya!